I've never recorded before, so all right, did you get a notification that's recording?
Yes,
Cool. All right. Well, sweet. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
of
Um,
course.
I hope your day is going well. Um,
Been good. Been busy. How about yourself?
um, Actually, today was kind of an easy day. Uh, which is nice. All week we've been running really
Mhm.
long testing days, and today was kind of our easy day. So that was
Nice.
nice.
What's the testing for?
For medical students. So
Nice.
we show up at 7 to get everything ready for them, and then we are testing them the whole day. So yeah, it's
Nice.
yeah, just a little bit like mentally tiring. I had some questions for you because I'm doing a video about wildland firefighters. I can do like all kinds of research about the kinds of shifts that you work or like the conditions, but I wanted to actually like talk to someone who'd actually done it.
Sure.
Um, and so I just wanted to get your perspective. So first, would you mind sharing how long you've been a wildland firefighter?
No problem at all. So I started working with the Forest Service as part of an engineering co-op that would have been 2011. And then I got certified and signed up as a wildland firefighter. It would have been 2012 through 2015.
Very cool. And so that would be the red card, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool. And which states have you worked in?
So I've worked in Michigan, Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho.
Okay, quite a few. Okay. Did you have like longer rotations where they flew you out for the whole summer, or would they fly you in for like a few weeks at a time and then fly you back out for R&R, or like what kind of things did you do for that?
So what we did, they considered a militia crew. They had a main department that those folks always did rotations. As part of the militia, you'd have 21 people signed up. As soon as, say, California, Wyoming, Montana needed support, they would call us in. And we actually drove from Michigan all the way to Montana. So that was nice. It took a couple days, but you got to see the entire country, kind of got prepped for going into the wildland firefighters. And it was good.
That's awesome. And then you just stay there for the entire summer?
We'd be there for 2, 3 weeks at a time, and then
Okay.
that's when R&R would begin.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yep, it'd be at least 2 straight weeks, 16-hour days, and then the third week, if they needed you, everyone had to vote on it, and if everyone agreed, then you'd do another third week of 16-hour days.
Oh, all right. When you're like at the fire camps and everything,
Mhm.
how close would you be to the fire, like when you're sleeping and everything? Because I know that there'd be someone like on watch at all times, but would you still be pretty close to the fire while you're resting?
Yeah, usually a couple miles away. So they always had folks that were watching it based on wind direction, storms coming in. As part of the militia crew, we were more swampers where we go cut trees, cut ground line so that, say, a fire comes towards the area, you got bare mineral dirt, and then the fire would hopefully stop there or soon after slow down.
Okay.
And then you had hot shots who were right on the fire. They were actually trying to suppress it, trying to get ahead of it.
Okay.
Those are a specialized crew, a lot of them out west to like New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana, and then they roam all around the country wherever they're needed.
That's cool. Is there like a difference in the protective equipment or anything between you and the hotshot crews?
Yeah, I'm sure they had different kinds of Nomex, probably a little bit higher protection and just more training. So
Okay.
with the Red Guard, I mean, they train you. Hey, here's your swamp crew. You know, here's what you're doing is cutting and doing bare mineral dirt. Where hot shots, they have someone on a mountain. They're being constantly guided. They're the ones really in the thick of it. And then you've got smoke jumpers, which are specialized hot shots that fly out of planes.
Hmm.
They parachute into the fires.
Okay. Um, so I know respiratory protection is like it's definitely like a difficult subject because I mean, frankly, it's just hard to do much of anything with respiratory protection, and then,
Sure.
um, adding on top of that, like, if you have to carry anything with you, and then if your respiratory protection gets heavily soiled or wet or things like that, and then adding on top of that, various states having different regulations for respiratory protection, um, did you notice, like, in all of the different states that you've worked with, was there a difference in the protection that you were offered, if you were offered protection? And then was there a difference in the cultures of how the respiratory protection was enforced?
No, in each event that we were at, we always had that protection. We always had the deployment. I mean, they look kind of like a space blanket, but basically it's deployment where if the fire came on you, you always had those inspected, making sure that they were the right size. So
Okay,
yeah, during the summers I was out there, I mean, I didn't really see any discrepancies, and everyone was good at the safety training of making sure you had your protective deployment, making sure you had that protection.
that's awesome. What kind of, uh, respiratory protection were you provided?
It would have been canisters. I can't remember the name, but yeah, they had
Okay,
special canisters that you'd use.
okay, okay, cool. Um, in the research that I did for this video, I saw that, like, in some states, there's, like, no mention of required respiratory protection, and then in some states, it's, like, required for you to have, like, an N95 or a P100, and
Okay.
so I thought it was interesting just, like, the vast difference in requirements, and then if if the fire I'm sorry, I don't remember what you call it, for when
Fine.
if the fire does approach, and you need to deploy something to protect yourself from that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a specific term for it, but we always call them deployments. It's basically like a space blanket, but it deflects the heat.
yep, yeah. We had something kinda similar for that because I was a mining engineer before I became a medic, and we had, um, like a respirator that would, uh, transform CO into CO2,
Mhm.
and there was just culturally, there was a lot of resistance to getting people to bring those and wear those because, a lot of people would be like, "Well, if the mine catches fire, I'm dead anyway." And it's just like, I mean,
Yeah.
alright. Did you ever get injured while you were on the fire line?
No. So with the way it is, each of the 21 people, you're always checking on each other, taking breaks. With doing 16 hours of manual labor, cutting grass, cutting trees, you got to have a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
Montana was the most extreme climate I've seen where it'd be 101 dry heat, and then at night you wake up, it's 24 degrees. So it's
Oh my
pretty
god.
crazy how you have that temperature difference. But we had gear for nighttime so that you're protected from the cold. And then during the day, we had Nomex that pretty much dry wicking. It was fire resistant, but it would help you with sweat and everything.
That's awesome. Since a lot of states use, inmates for wildland fire protection, did you ever work with any inmate crews?
No, ma'am. So it was always militia crews or hot shots.
Okay.
There would always be a central camp. Sometimes it would be a army base or a nearby base that wasn't in use, and then you just meet up there. You'd have a lunch haul and then get redirected.
Nice.
Nope. So like we had a 30,000 acre fire, and I wouldn't be shocked if we ended up having 20 or 40 crews on it.
Is that the biggest fire you ever fought?
That was the biggest one that I'd fought,
Yeah,
and we were
that
cutting trail. It would have been probably like 4 or 5 miles worth through the hills in Montana.
that is all the questions I had. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say or, anything you'd like to share?
Sure. Um, One of the cooler experiences working in like Wyoming, Montana would be seeing the lightning storms come through. You had a lot of dry lightning, but then when you actually had the lightning come through, you'd see the next day you'd be working on a fire, and across the mountain you'd see smoke starting, and you knew, hey, in a day or two that's where I'm going next,
Yeah.
because that lightning would strike dry brush. And just interesting to see. Kind of knew what was going on.
I just think it's so amazing. Like I'm a paramedic. My husband is an EMT and he's done like volunteer firefighting, and
Yeah.
we like to, we poke fun and
Sure.
we we rib each other and all that stuff, but always at the end of the day, we're just like, we respect wildland firefighters in this house because they're the ones who actually fight fires. I really appreciate you talking to me because I just have so much respect for what you guys do. And I know it's a job that I personally like physically could not do. Um, and I just think it's so awesome that you have done this job.
You'd be surprised. With the militia crews, you've got a test where you got to wear a 40-pound or 60-pound pack. And I think it's a 2 or 3 mile distance you have to cross in a certain time. Doing that exercise training for it, it's not bad. Um, we had people from all walks of life. I mean, people near 60s that were working alongside you, people right out of high school. Um, Big community. Everyone's just working together and looking out for each other.
Yeah.
Biggest thing, heat exhaustion in the summertime, and then uh, widowmakers,
Yeah.
trees burned and such. That's honestly the big threat out there is just keeping an eye above your head, making sure that if there's dead standing timber, you stay away from it.
Gotcha. I have so I had to pass that test because I joined the special operations and rescue team at my previous job, and we went out with SWAT search and rescue, um, and that was a pretty great experience. But I actually my first COVID infection in April of 2020, I actually still have long COVID from that. So
There.
yeah, that it's not in the cards for me anymore. But maybe before then I could have,
Yeah.
maybe, but still, maybe still I couldn't have been able to. Like, I don't know. I just think it's a really incredible job.
Yeah. And if you don't mind sharing, I heard engineering, so I don't know if I had mentioned it, but I'm an engineer by trade. So
He didn't mention
interesting.
that.
Yeah, civil engineer. I work in the petroleum industry now, but civil
That's
engineer. Right.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to go into more detail on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did engineering co-ops for the government. We did timber sale selection, marking roads for logging trucks and skidders to go in. But then as part of that, they offered like, hey, if you want to get certified wildland, there's always a chance you can go out west and help people out, get to experience some of the nation. So it was cool.
That I mean, that's actually how they got me in EMS. I was an engineer and I was working remote in Washington. And
Nice.
because it was so remote, we had to have medical staff on site. And they were like, hey, while you're here, do you want to get EMR certified? And I was like, yeah, yeah, that'd be nice. And then when I finally got laid off, I was like, yeah, I need a backup plan.
Nothing wrong
And
with that.
yeah, and now I'm here. And I don't want to go back to engineering.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I enjoy it, but there's some of those days. I went from marking timber every day in the woods to managing multi-million dollar projects, and it's fun, but it's like I miss those days in the woods by yourself,
Yeah,
not not having that much to think about.
yeah, yeah. I like the no nonsense of EMS where it's just like, all right, I don't care if you are a chief or a captain or whatever. If you are not here to solve my immediate problem, you need to get out of my face.
Yep,
And I really
everything
like
that's how
that.
it
And that is not how engineering works. And that's not how academia works. And academia is where I am right now. And holy shit, I am not cut out for it.
Yeah, I can totally relate. The red tape on that is just insane. I love my job, but there's some days you just shake your head and it's like, is it the weekend yet?
Yeah.
What part of Washington were you in?
A little town called Wenatchee.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with it. I definitely was not. Um, it's honestly, I probably couldn't even point to it on a map now. I just worked there. They'd fly me into Seattle, and then we'd fly into Wenatchee, and then take a 2 hour bus ride, and then a 2 hour boat ride, and then another 2 hour bus ride, and then we were there.
Nice.
So yeah, very remote, but It
We were close.
was,
We ended up having a fire in Coeur d'Alene, which it's like an hour or two from Pasco.
okay.
Yeah, it was close to Washington. It's a cool area.
Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know why I didn't make this connection, but our entire mine site almost burned down in 2015 because of a wildland fire, and we had to evacuate.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Huh. Kind of forgot that that
Yeah,
happened. It's a weird year. A lot happened that year.
I know exactly what you mean. Going into college and doing the Forest Service stuff, I was lucky and signed up for oil and gas with a buddy of mine. It's just kind of as a joke, and it worked out. But it was weird going from marking trees to working at a refinery and now a pipeline company. It's just like it's weird how life goes that way.
Yeah. Just kind of like, how did I end up here?
Yeah,
I think as a joke, that kind of sums it up.
it's funny at the time you just make a small decision. You're like, yeah, it's just the moment, and then all of a sudden it's been 10 years, and it's like, wow, I'm here.
Yeah, actually. But it worked out. I would not have wanted to stay in engineering, and I left full-time EMS 2 years ago. I still do part-time, but when I
Okay,
left full-time EMS, like, oh my God, somebody was dying. It was either going to be me or somebody else. I really didn't care which one it was going to be. It was time.
yeah,
And so, that was a good decision. And now I'm here, and I'm pretty sure in a year or two, I'm going to make another decision that's going to send me in another direction. And yeah,
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
Honestly, kind of where we're at. It's I like what I do now, but now I'm trying to find, as they call a side hustle or side hobby. It's like,
yeah,
what can you do on the side to pay for bills? And I always had the entrepreneurial mindset. So now trying to think through small businesses that you can work on the side. So it's funny how it happens. 2 years ago, it never was like that.
yeah. Are, would you think about continuing to do the Wildland Fire thing, or is that not in the cards?
I always told myself when I was doing it, if I stayed with the Forest Service, I would continue it till I had a family. And now
Mm,
being married and having our first child on the way, I wouldn't now. But
that's,
if it was a couple of years ago, I think I would.
yeah, yeah. I think that's totally understandable. What kind of things would you want to do then as a side hustle, not wildland firefighting?
It's a great question. I know 2,000 things that I don't want to do, but the problem is finding the one thing where it's like, hey, I'd enjoy it, and I think I'd be somewhat successful. So
Yeah.
it's there's 20 different podcasts you can listen to, and you're like, oh, that sounds like great business, not for me. Oh, that sounds amazing, not going to do that.
Yep.
But haven't really had that aha moment where I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do on the side.
Yeah. Where I'm at, I've got like a few things where I'm just like, I really love this. This is really great. And if I wanted to turn it into a business, I probably would hate it.
Yep.
Like with my YouTube channel, I'm like almost to 2,000 subscribers, and
Nice.
that's where I've been for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to like do all of those tips and tricks that they tell you to gain subscribers, my channel would probably look nothing like what I want it to look like, and I would hate every minute of it. And it's just
Yeah.
like, well, then what's the point?
Yeah. It's nice
So,
keeping it organic, the way you want it, the style you want it.
yeah.
You can sell out. But
Yeah.
so I got to ask, what is it about?
For a long time, um, I did just like reaction videos. Like
Okay.
I would watch like some EMS movie or TV show or something, like Chicago Fire or um Bringing Out the Dead or something, and I would just like give my reaction, and usually my uh unhappiness with it and say like this isn't very accurate at all, like here's why. then like a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to do video essays. Um,
Okay.
and so uh that's what I'm doing now.
Nice.
Um, my video essays have not been popular, but they're
Okay.
what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. So there.
Yeah. Honestly, I always like that term where people say customer's always right. No,
Mm-mm.
done a little bit of woodworking for people, and it's like, no, if it seems like a bad idea, it probably is.
I really appreciate you letting me ask you these questions and talking to me. This has been really helpful, and I really appreciate just like getting your experience.
Of course. I appreciate you letting me talk about it, and it was nice meeting you. If you have any
Yeah,
other questions, want a follow-up video, I don't mind.
sounds good.